Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Glenn, and it is, do you think that Glaz should get an Iron V-scope in Rainbow Six Siege that allows him to see through smoke grenades? I have heard this suggestion a lot lately because it's clear that a lot of people believe that he's one of the weaker operators on offense and they just want to make him great again. I've heard the suggestion that he should get a bolt action rifle which will one-shot the enemy or down the enemy with one bullet. I've heard the recommendation of reducing his recoil so it's more manageable, but the one that I've been hearing more and more is the one that you said, which is giving him some sort of scope that allows him to see through smoke grenades. And while this would definitely be a buff, a massive buff to this operator, I'm not exactly sure if this is something that we would want in Rainbow Six Siege. From a design perspective, this would have a dramatic impact on the way that you attack certain objectives when you are playing on offense. If you know an enemy is watching a doorway like a hawk, they got that on lockdown, behind a fortified barrier for example, you're gonna have a hard time normally on offense taking that guy out. But if you are playing as Glaz and you've got smoke grenades because he can run smoke, you throw that in the doorway really quickly, and if they continue to peek that and wait for someone to charge on through, but you just bring up your Iron V or your FLIR scope, you see them, they can't see you, and you get an easy kill. And so essentially, this is a direct counter to anyone who is camping around the objective. If you know the enemy is there because you scouted out with your drone, throw that smoke grenade now, and you are going to have a massive advantage. The other way it mixes things up is that if the enemy realizes you have a Glaz on your team, as soon as they see the smoke grenade, they're just going to run for cover. They're not even going to peek that doorway anymore because they know they're going to get headshotted out of nowhere from someone they can't see, and so why even take that risk? Now you might be thinking, okay, that seems like a limiting factor to this tactic. If everyone realizes as soon as they see smoke grenade, they're gonna duck for cover, well then that doesn't sound like much of an upgrade to Glaz because he's not getting kills with it anymore. And you are right in some situations, but also if you are as Glaz and you're communicating with your teammates, you can be like, okay, everyone ran away from the doorway, no one's there, I can see through the smoke, you can move in safely now and take the objective. And so it adds in this further layer of tactics, and this is actually something that I really like about the idea, is that if you are communicating with your teammates and you're working together, this could actually be a very viable way at taking the capture point and something that we don't really see right now. Normally you charge through a smoke grenade, you're gonna die because you're at a disadvantage. You can't really see what's going on around you, it's very disorienting, but if the Glaz has confirmed that no one's inside and it's clear and you're safe to go, he can be your point man, he can watch what's going on around you while you go in and capture the point for yourself. So I really like that idea about it. The thing is though, and the reason why I said earlier why I don't necessarily know if we want this added into Rainbow Six Siege is not only would this be very frustrating to fight against when you're playing on defense, but it also might be too much of a dramatic change to Glaz and just make him blatantly overpowered. I can only imagine how frustrating it would be to die from someone that you can't see because of this mechanic. This was something that I didn't really enjoy back with Battlefield 4. I don't know if you guys remember this or if you played Battlefield 4, but there was a time where everyone was throwing smokes around the map and they were using the FLIR scope to shoot at the enemy. It was kind of ridiculous. And while I know that some people really enjoyed that mechanic, it got to the point where if you're playing on certain maps, everything was smoke. The entire map was just smoke grenades or flares, and everyone was peering through their FLIR scope to try to get this advantage. I don't know if we really want that for Rainbow Six Siege. And so I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. There are some aspects about this idea that I really like. The added communication, the teamwork, the different strategies that would come of it. It would add a different layer than something that we have right now, but I don't know if this is something that we want. And so do you like the idea? Do you think that it's the worst thing ever? Do you think it would be amazing? Let me know down below in the comments. The next question comes from Michael, and it is, do you think that tanks in Battlefield 1 are too overpowered? It seems like DICE agrees with you on this one because there was a tweet, I believe, by a developer who basically came out and said that the light tank is way too good right now, at least one of the loadouts, and it's going to be getting nerfed when the game releases. That said though, I also feel like it's a little bit too early to tell for the other tanks and the other tank variants because you can customize them with different loadouts. I don't necessarily want to say that those are overpowered because I think it's just too early to tell. This map is very vehicle-centric and friendly, and I believe that this might be one of the biggest reasons why people think that they're so good right now. there's not a lot of cover, and this might just be due in part because of poor map design, but I have a feeling that when we switch on to smaller maps, more infantry-focused maps where there's more cover, that this isn't going to be nearly as big of an issue. On top of that, I also think many people don't understand how to counter tanks. There's a lot of ways to do so, but probably one of the easiest and the best ways of doing that is using the anti-tank rifle. Now, this might be due in part because there's a bug right now in the beta where you're not able to level up your individual kits, so a lot of people haven't gotten to rank 1 with Assault, but as soon as you do so, you need to be using your anti-tank rifle because it's easily the best way at taking care of vehicles at a distance. It might not do as much damage as an RPG in previous Battlefield games, and it's a little bit more challenging to use because you need to either be prone or put this on a ledge so that you can bipod it up, but it's an amazing way at taking care of vehicles, and I just don't think enough people are using it right now. On top of that, there are so many different ways at dealing damage to tanks. You've got aircrafts up in the sky, other vehicles down on the ground, stationary turrets, K-bullets, you've got the wide assortment of gadgets with the Assault class, and so I think when more time progresses and people get a better understanding that this is not Battlefield 4, where we're just fling RPGs at enemy vehicles, we'll slowly get a better understanding if things are too good in the tank departments. And so while I do agree with you that the light tank is way too powerful right now, and even DICE agrees with you, it is going to get a kick in the kneecap when the game goes live, I feel like the other ones are in a good spot. The land ship feels very powerful, but it should feel powerful because 3 people are required for that thing to be successful. The heavy tank seems to be at least pretty good. And while once again, it might be too early to tell, I think when the game goes live and people have a better understanding of how combat works in Battlefield 1, things will level out and will be much more balanced. The next question comes from Blake, and it is, what are your first impressions of the nerf to the semi-auto shotguns in Rainbow Six Siege? Do you think that this is the best or worst decision they could have made? Well, I don't think we need to speak in extremes. I don't think this was the best or worst thing that happened to Rainbow Six Siege, but I do believe that it was a good thing for the game. There really wasn't much of a reason not to use shotguns on defense. They were incredibly powerful, they did a lot of damage at a distance, and while sure they could still be countered, they were just too good, and it looks like Ubisoft agreed. For a game that's all about getting headshots, the shotguns, of course, don't need to get headshots, you just kind of point and click at the enemy. They seem too good for what they were doing. It's not like they were nerfed into oblivion either, though. I mean, they're still good. I've got lots of examples where as long as I was playing the map appropriately, I wasn't rushing out into the middle of a hallway assuming that I could counter-snipe a Glaz. As long as I kept things close to the chest and I used the gun how they were supposed to be used, they're still very, very good. Honestly, I highly recommend that you use Tachanka's and Kapkan's new shotgun, or new and improved shotgun, because it's really fun. They may be some of the weaker operators in the game, but I gotta admit, like, that gun is really satisfying to use, and if you are able to get up close and personal, you're gonna pretty much win every single firefight that you come across. They are that powerful. And so all in all, I'm really satisfied with how they handled the semi-automatic shotguns. They're in a much better place, they don't feel blatantly overpowered, they don't feel underpowered, and it allows other guns to now have more of a presence in Rainbow Six Siege. The next question comes from Jonathan, and it is, what is your opinion on the support class in Battlefield 1? Since I played the support class as a main through Battlefield 3, 4, Battlefield Hardline, and now into Battlefield 1, and after playing many hours of the beta, I feel it's very underpowered compared to previous Battlefield games. It is different, isn't it? I think one of the reasons why you might be feeling this way is that they changed the way the light machine guns work. Now you need to hold down the trigger for an extended period of time to ramp up your accuracy. Those first couple of shots that come out of the weapon are going to be your least accurate. They've got a lot of bullet spread to them, and if your enemy is at medium to long range, there's no way you're going to be able to take them out. The longer you hold down the trigger, though, that's when that accuracy starts to kick in, and honestly, they basically become automatic sniper rifles. You should have no problem taking someone out at medium to long range. Now, the downside of this, and the reason why I'm hoping that not every single one of the light machine guns has this kind of mechanic when the game goes live, is that if you start a firefight with someone, you both pull the trigger at the exact moments, you're at a bit of a disadvantage to begin with. Because your first couple of shots go wild, that means that your first shots are missing, but if they're using a DMR for the medic and they're good, they're not missing their shots, you're probably not going to come out of that firefight alive because of the weapon that you're using. Another thing that might be contributing to this is that we don't have access to a lot of gadgets when we're playing as this class. We already know that mortars are going to be added into the game, and maybe those are going to be very, very powerful. Maybe DICE has some other gadget up their sleeve that they're going to be giving to this class that's going to allow them to be more successful. But I think at least during the beta, gadget-wise, they're more of the lackluster class. And so while it is too early to tell because this is the beta, I think one of the reasons why you might be struggling a bit more and why I think a lot of people are not too thrilled with this kit right now is that it is so different from past Battlefield games. If you run around like you would in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 as if you're playing Assault with more ammo, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. You need to be hunkered down. You need to be taking advantage of your bipod to take people out at a distance, and that is going to be a different play style. And so while in general it might be weaker, I think it's too early to tell, I will agree with you that things are dramatically different from past Battlefield games, and it might take some adjustments. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.